Gabriella, how are you? Congratulations on this show. What was it like getting the phone call or email or whatever from your agent saying you were part of this?
Yeah, no, it has been a dream come true. I've been in the industry for more than 25 years. And I had the luck to meet with Lina Vermeuler, who was an Oscar winner, the first actually woman ever nominated to Academy Award when I was 17. I met her. Then I had a luck of a maestro, I would say. I had like this 20 years of career that has been, very successful, and I'm very grateful for it. But to meet Roland and to meet another amazing director again after 20 years has been like a rebirth in this industry for me. This role is a dream for an actress. Like when I read the script the first time and I read the role, it was very clear that I really wanted to get this. This was like an opportunity for me that I couldn't miss. So I did the audition and I met Roland, and then Roland was trying to convince me to play like a younger role. I was like, no, I want to play her. I mean, I'm her age, and that's what I want to play. I want to get her. So I had this amazing meeting with Roland after my audition, and we worked together on building this amazing character. And, the portraits of Rome in this show is outstanding. It's never been done before, never been seen before. So it has been, it's a big impact for an actress to have an opportunity to work on a set of this scale. This is a 170 million budget movie, sorry, a series, and it's so rich, it's so epic. People like who've built the set, the costumes, and the script, the actors, like it's just like it's a dream work for an actor. So I'm very grateful. I'm very excited. And I'm very honored to be part of this amazing team with Anthony Hopkins being, this passion in this show has been like the cherry on this amazing cake.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very, very, very happy, Linda.
You don't know how happy I am to hear you talk about the importance of casting women in their own age, and I think that is a very important thing.
Yeah.
Was it hope your character is almost like a symbolic figure of how women at that time had to sort of manage themselves and navigate the men around them to sort of to win and to sort of save themselves. What was it like for you? Sort of, did you have to go back and read up on what a woman like that would have done in those times?
I read a lot of biography about of many famous women in the past, like Livia Drusilla, Ottaviano's wife, or Messalina, who was a very controversial figure in the Roman history, Agrippina, Poppaea. There have been many, many outstanding characters and controversial in the Roman history that really existed. So Antonia did not really existed, but she's like a mixture
Yeah, yeah.
of some of those characteristic of those characters. But yeah, you said it is exactly right, Linda. Like at that time, women couldn't sit in the Senate. They couldn't have a political saying. They didn't have any kind of role recognized into the society that was, heard. It's like they couldn't have any voice. So the way my character Antonia operates is really by pulling the strings behind the scenes and being really clever in the way she can install seeds of thoughts of ideas in her husband's ears and playing like that. So she's like she has a strategical intelligence. She's manipulative, and if you're kind of silenced, it's not easy for a person to live in a society like this where women didn't have any power of any saying. So she finds her voice in a very clever and cruel way as well. But that's what it's interesting of the character. She's clever, she's cruel, but she's clever. And that's what makes her interesting. And, as an actress also to play a role like this, it gave me the opportunity to explore very different era in her psychological trait, because she's driven. She's probably a narcissist. She's ego driven. She's like so hungry for power. But that also can make you blind. That also can make you do things that are completely out of proportion. And she's a bit mad. So the madness comes from this kind of, need of power that can blind a person. And so the consequences can be really fatal and very bad. So the vulnerability that you will see down the line in the characters, I think, allows this character to unfold in a way that it's like not just the villain, but it's a woman who is desperately wanted to be recognized and heard. And then you see what happens. So it's a very dramatic role and very epic in a way to play.
Yeah, you walk alongside Rupert Penry-Jones on this, and these two, this kind of patrician couple who are, for want of a better word, feel that they are better than everyone else around them. What was it like working with him, first of all, and how important was it for you to sort of try and emulate what that kind of couple would have been like?
So the script was slightly different because when I met with Rupert, and we adored one another. We had a great time on set. We were laughing, had a same sense of humor. We're not in our 20s anymore, so there's a bit of a cynical aspect to us. So we said, hey, I think besides what's written, these two, they really have to love one another. So they have like an open marriage, but they are safe into their own bonds. Like they know that they belong to one another. So that wasn't really written there. It was more like a couple that does their own things and they're together for power. But we really wanted to build this relationship that is a bit rotten, that is a bit wild, that is a bit, dirty in a way as well, like just to make this couple like more interesting. So then when the story unfolds again, you attach to them. You actually see them as a couple and not just a marriage for power. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interesting to build this aspect and also make those two characters quite fun and quite, they have cruelty and malice, but in a way that is a bit bold and a bit kind of, they have a personality. So it was very creative to work with Rupert, obviously. So I had a great time with him. I think we worked very well together.
They almost reminded me of like a political couple. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's the politician and she's the wife pushing him behind, but she knows that he's not as good as she is.
Yes.
Was there anyone in particular that you based that your own character on?
Well, we always say in history, behind a great man, there's a great woman. So there are a lot of examples in the history of those kind of couples, I guess. But yeah, no, I liked, and he liked it as well. It was very interesting to play that she's the one also that installs the seeds of him becoming an emperor. She's pushing him to become an emperor, and he comes from a military background. Yeah. So she's a patrician and she's noble, and she married him even though he was a military. So he's not at the same class of her. So there's a scene where she says, the name you have is thanks to my family name. She kind of belittles him in a way, but she knows as well that without this front runner that is a man, she wouldn't be able to succeed. So I think she drives him and he likes to be driven by her. And I think, yeah, it's quite, it's not that far from reality. In history, we have different stories, like even Livia Drusilla, for example, with Ottaviano was kind of the same. So that's an example, for example, that really existed.
Yeah. Finally, I just one other question about the cast themselves. Did you live in the same places where the series was being filmed, and did you spend a huge amount of time on set? And did you get to know the rest of them and sort of interact and
Oh yeah,
ideas?
yeah. So I live in Rome, so I was lucky enough. All the crew and like hair and makeup. I've been working with these guys for 20 years. Like we're friends. We've known for so long. So it was interesting for me to meet these guys on an international set. So it's like, hey, ciao, come stai? Wow, sound good. It was kind of familiar, but epic because the scale of the set was completely different from anything else I've ever done. So yeah, and I got to meet the rest of the cast. I worked with all of them. I had the chance to work with Hopkins, and he was so kind. I asked him to photograph of my son. That was in the morning, and then I didn't want to really insist or anything because we were in the middle of a lot of people. And then we break for lunch, and then in the evening we come back, and he looks for me and he says, "We need to do the photo for your son."
Oh,
he remembered that, and not only this, he made a video for him. So he's just there are a lot of videos of Hopkins online talking about that the biggest enemy of humans and actors is ego. And I think the once you grow older, you lose your ego, you become a better person and a better actor, really. So I embrace my age. Like, I'm very happy to be playing a role of my age. And I work with Sarah, who plays Kala. We're the same age, and so we have kids. And, there's a maturity and, way you see this business that is different. That a lot of kids that are very young in the show. So for them must have been like a dream to be part of the set. So I met all of them. I work with Dimitri a lot, who plays Corpus, and it was fun. And Roland is just like a genius. Like, he's such a visionary, and nothing is ever big enough for Roland. He can take things to the next extent. He dreams big, and so when you're on a set like this, you're led by someone who knows exactly what's his vision, and you feel safe. You let go all the fear because you have a maestro, like I had 20 years ago with Lina Vermeuler.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey You Guys!